Welcome back to Alpha Insights. I'm Tyler. We've got Ryan here to walk us through the latest in the cannabis sector heading into the long weekend. Remember, if you have questions as we go, you can ask us at stockalpha.ai.
Great to be here, Tyler. Thanks for having me.
Quick housekeeping. Markets are closed today, so when we talk numbers, we'll reference where things stood as of Friday, May 22nd, and look ahead to the next trading day on Tuesday, May 26th. Sound good?
Perfect. That's important context for listeners.
Okay, big picture first. Ryan, give us the headline. What mattered last week?
The short version is mixed, but constructive. You had a federal court toss a lawsuit that challenged a Medicare-centered hemp coverage program, a notable policy win. At the same time, there are state-level speed bumps, things like a delay in rescheduling in Alabama and a frozen testing license in Minnesota. On the demand and capital side, Canadian retail sales showed sequential growth, and Fund Canna locked in significant lending capacity.
Can you break down that court decision for listeners who don't follow legal filings every day?
Absolutely. The judge dismissed a challenge to a program that would allow eligible Medicare enrollees to get up to $500 a year for hemp-derived products. That mainly covers CBD-type products, and it lowers a legal overhang around federal programs that expand hemp access. So it's a signal that these pilot programs have a clearer legal path forward.
And the practical effect of that is?
It reduces uncertainty, which matters for bigger buyers like insurers and medical providers. When federal-level programs look less risky, more conservative players can consider participating, which can open distribution channels and increase commercial demand for compliant hemp products. But, and this is key, federal clarity doesn't erase state-by-state differences. You can have national guidance and still end up with a patchwork on the ground.
Right. Let's talk about that patchwork. Give me the state risks you mentioned.
Yeah, that's a good point. Alabama's health officials voted to delay automatic rescheduling that would have followed a federal shift, so implementation there is being held up. Minnesota froze a testing lab license over compliance concerns, which can disrupt product releases and quality checks. And in Texas, a recent documentary highlighted aggressive enforcement against hemp sellers, which underscores political and enforcement risk in big markets.
So all the optimism at the federal level could still run into local obstacles.
Exactly. Think of federal validation as clearing one big hurdle, but operators still need to navigate checkpoints at every state and local level.
Switching to demand and finance, what were the encouraging signs there?
Canadian retail sales rose to 471.4 million Canadian dollars in March, up about 7.5% versus February. That's sequential demand growth. And Fund Canna secured a $60 million credit line and says it has roughly $75 million in capital overall, with $35 million immediately available. So you've got sales trends and fresh lending capacity at the same time.
That sounds like supply and capital are both moving. Why does that matter for market sentiment?
When demand shows up and lenders make capital available, it helps operators manage inventory, support promotions, and expand retail footprints. That combination tends to ease cash flow stress and lift sector sentiment. But again, this isn't uniform. Some operators will see more benefit than others depending on where they operate and how tightly regulated those jurisdictions are. And to add to that, pilots like New Jersey's move to allow larger-size hemp THC beverages to be sold in liquor stores are the kind of distribution changes that can shift sales channels. If liquor stores become a viable outlet, that could change conversion dynamics. But it also raises regulatory and retail questions.
Quick reactions?
Interesting.
Okay, looking forward to next week, when markets reopen on Tuesday, May 26th. What should listeners monitor?
Watch 3 buckets: policy headlines, regulatory enforcement, and liquidity deployment. On policy, look for any additional state objections or alignment moves. For enforcement, keep an eye on licensing actions like lab freezes that can pinch supply. For liquidity, watch how lenders like Fund Canna deploy capital and whether borrowing terms change for operators.
And in terms of market instruments, any names or categories that often reflect these trends?
Sure. Popular cannabis exchange-traded funds and large multi-state operators, names like Trulieve, Green Thumb, Curaleaf, and Tilray, often lead flows and sentiment for the sector. But just to be clear, and I want to stress this, we're discussing information, not giving personalized investing guidance or telling anyone to buy or sell.
Good reminder. For listeners who like a quick checklist, what are your top 3 things to watch early next week?
1. Federal versus state policy moves. Any more states delaying or aligning? 2. Regulatory enforcement actions that could disrupt testing or retail. 3. Capital deployment from niche lenders, and whether retail sales momentum in places like Canada continues into spring.
Perfect. A couple quick lighter notes before we wrap. Any surprises last week?
Honestly, I was a bit surprised by how clearly the court decision reduced one legal uncertainty. That was a cleaner outcome than many expected.
Nice. All right. Let's close with 3 key takeaways.
Number 1. Federal legal backing for the Medicare-linked hemp program reduces a major legal overhang and can improve institutional confidence. Number 2. State-level pushback and enforcement actions mean operational and licensing risk will remain uneven across the U.S. Number 3. Demand signs in Canada and fresh lending capacity suggest capital and consumer interest are present, but execution and regulatory risk will determine who benefits.
Thanks, Ryan. And one final note for listeners. This is for informational purposes only, not personalized investment advice. If you have questions about anything we discussed today, you can ask us directly at stockalpha.ai. We answer listener questions live. And for more market insights, head over to stockalpha.ai.